default can be tragic for borrowers. In some cases, Caval said, several states revoke driver's licenses over default. That is not a thing that I knew before I read this, so I looked into it, and apparently Kansas, Tennessee, Louisiana, and Texas all have some kind of legislation on the books that could result in people having their licenses suspended or revoked over not paying their student loans.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio,
Tumwa, Iowa.
Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up.
Hey, it's Ashley with Status Coup News. If you are one of the 5 million Americans who have defaulted on their student loans, White House press secretary and aspiring Fox News host Carolyn Levitt says the federal government is going to take your wages to pay it off. Because nothing makes me feel more like we have a president of the people than feeling the crushing weight of impending financial ruin when I'm already struggling. So let's watch some of this bootlegger's announcement.
Debt cannot be wiped away. It just ends up getting transferred to others. So why should Americans who didn't go to college or went to college and responsibly paid back their loans pay for the student loans of other Americans? The Trump administration will never force taxpayers to pay student loan debts that don't belong to them. Student loan borrowers need clarity, and we're finally giving it to them. Borrowers will now be clearly expected to repay their loans, and those who default on their loan obligations will face involuntary collections. The government can and will collect defaulted federal student loan debt by withholding money from borrowers' tax refunds, federal pensions, and even their wages.
Excellent. And she's right. Debt cannot be wiped away. We can wipe away every agency working to do something, literally anything, for working people. We can also wipe away any trace of DOJ's actions at the NLRB. Nothing else, though. She has such sympathy for the working class of this country. Again, I cannot wait to see her debut on Fox News. She's doing fantastic. So on May 5th, just a couple of weeks from now, if you have a student loan that is in default, it will now be sent to collections. So if you have been struggling to make ends meet during this worsening cost of living crisis, Trump wants to make sure that instead of buying increasingly expensive groceries, paying your rent, paying for medications, paying for things for your kids, instead of doing all of that, you're prioritizing paying off your student loans. So the loans that you took out to pay for a degree that allows you to sit in front of a computer all day long and send pointless emails every day for the rest of your life, because we all definitely needed a degree to be able to do that. And what good is debt if not trapping people in a life where they don't have any other choice but to work a job that makes someone else rich? So again, if you have defaulted on your student loans, the Trump administration will take your wages, your tax refunds, and federal pensions, because loan debt isn't only held by young people. Older adults and seniors who have been struggling to pay them off also hold on to that debt. So I'm going to read a little bit from an ABC piece that talks about some of the details of this. So 5 million student loan borrowers face mandatory collections starting May 5th. The announcement comes as scores of federal student aid FSA employees have been terminated at the Department of Education as part of Donald Trump's efforts to shutter the agency, which creates uncertainty for borrowers and the future of the student loan system, according to former Undersecretary of Education James Caval. The concern is that the department is cutting the people who would help borrowers make this transition, Caval told ABC News. Borrowers who are trying to get help by getting into an affordable repayment plan or by applying for loan forgiveness if they're eligible for that just don't have the same resources that they did before the department staff was cut in half. So according to this NPR piece from early March, approximately 330 FSA workers have been laid off by the administration, and before the cuts, the department had roughly 1,440 employees, and more cuts could soon be on the way. So if you are one of the 4 out of 10 borrowers who are in default and struggling to make student loan payments, don't worry, the Trump administration has a plan to help you. So this is a Politico piece. So what's next? Department officials said they will begin a robust communication strategy consisting of sending a series of emails to defaulted borrowers to let them know about the Treasury Offset Program and urge them to look into several repayment options. Borrowers will be encouraged to enroll in income-driven repayment programs or participate in loan rehabilitation, which requires making a certain number of consecutive on-time loan payments to get out of default, among other options. The department said it made several tools available to borrowers, such as an artificial intelligence assistant, to help with finding a repayment program and extended loan servicers' call center hours. The agency has said it has plans to work with Washington to bring borrowers out of default We're looking forward to working with Congress on their efforts to streamline loan repayment as well as lowering college costs, a senior official said, and you'll hear a lot about this over the next few weeks. I cannot doubt anymore that we're going to hear anything about lowering college costs over the next few weeks, but I would be happy to be surprised by that. So instead of speaking with workers at the FSA department, which would have been able to help get you onto some kind of repayment plan, they're offering the helping hand of AI. I'm sure that going through the AI customer service phone maze is going to go great for this. It definitely works out really well for less consequential things like talking to Verizon when your internet is out. So I'm sure that for something as critical as, repaying your defaulted student loan, things are going to go great. And the call center is not going to be totally overburdened with 5.5 million people also trying to make this same phone call. And if you can actually get through to a human worker at this department, they're likely to, again, be so overburdened with less staff, increased hours, increased workload, that helping you is going to be all the more difficult. And I have to say, like, the administration is not even helping themselves here. If they make it easy to get borrowers onto some kind of repayment plan, they can at least squeeze some kind of money out of you. But if they make it more difficult to the point of not mattering at all, they don't get anything. Because if your loan is in default, that means you simply do not have the money to pay for it and are going to continue to not have the money to pay for it. Sending that bill to collections just punishes working people for doing the thing that we were all told to do. If you wanted to have a good life and get a good job and not be some kind of, slacker working customer service or a trade or whatever, you needed to get a degree, any degree. And at 18 years old, so still not old enough to drink a beer or anything like that, we all surely understood the implications of what we were signing on to, as well as the future economic fallout of like 40 years of neoliberal policy that has made a lot of people really fucking rich and made it impossible for the rest of us to live the life that was promised. And to be clear, Biden, one of the key architects of our decline, could have helped to make up for his disastrous policies of his time in Congress, and he did not. So here is a tweet from Sam Sachs, which reads, Sam Sachs of Means TV. The Biden administration opted not to use the authority it had under the Higher Education Act to cancel student loan debt and instead relied on a weaker emergency authority under the HEROES Act, specifically because it didn't want to set a precedent for future admins to easily cancel student debt. Gee, thanks so much, Biden. It's incredible how much power Republicans can claim for themselves when they want to versus how much power Democrats can. Their apparent obsession with following the rules when the other side has thrown out the rule book is fucking pathetic. And it's just a cover for the real thing that's at work here, which is that Biden and the Democrats agree that we should not offer any kind of relief to borrowers who were misled and lied to and are now suffering for it. Here in this ABC News piece, Caval said defaults can be tragic for borrowers. In some cases, Caval said, defaults can negatively impact credit scores and future student aid, and several states revoke driver's licenses over defaults. That is not a thing that I knew before I read this, so I looked into it, and apparently Kansas, Tennessee, Louisiana, and Texas all have some kind of legislation on the books that could result in people having their licenses suspended or revoked over not paying their student loans, which is fucking insane. Never mind your prospects for getting an apartment or a car loan or anything of that sort if your credit was tanked because you thought, apparently incorrectly, that going to school would mean finding a decent job in which you could pay off the loan that you took out to get that degree. I just can't help but wonder how long it's going to be until we start to see the return of debtors' prisons to be filled solely with people who just wanted to get a degree or go to school or be more educated or whatever their motivation was. And this ABC News piece goes on to say, the department emphasized that its efforts will protect taxpayers from shouldering the cost of federal student loans that borrowers willingly undertook. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon also said taxpayers will no longer be responsible for the irresponsible student loan policies of the previous administration. The Biden administration misled borrowers. The executive branch does not have the constitutional authority to wipe debt away, nor do the loan balances simply disappear. McMahon wrote in a department release, hundreds of billions have already been transferred to taxpayers going forward. The Department of Education, in conjunction with the Department of Treasury, will shepherd the student loan program responsibly and according to the law, which means helping borrowers return to repayment, both for the sake of their own financial health and our nation's economic outlook. Yes, this administration really feels like it is fighting for the working class. Both Caroline Leavitt and Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, who definitely is qualified for the job she has, are both right. The administration can only disappear people, not loan balances accrued by working people who were sold a bill of goods by a predatory system preying on working people trying to better themselves. They don't have the constitutional authority to wipe away debt. Again, just the rest of the federal government and the tax responsibility of the wealthy elites. And as for shepherding the student loan program according to the law, it's incredible when the law matters here and when it does not. It doesn't matter when we're talking about the Supreme Court ordering more than once the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador, which he was sent to in error, but it matters when we're talking about making lives better for the working class of this country. And for anyone thinking incorrectly that student loan forgiveness would be a handout to the rich or managerial class, that is simply not true. According to the Federal Reserve report from 2023 on the economic well-being of U.S. households, borrowers from lower income families are more likely to struggle with repayment, especially those who did not complete a degree. So again, it is working people who carry this burden and every other burden that society carries that is weighing us down right now. God forbid we use our tax dollars to make life easier for the people of this country who are struggling and need help. No, instead, we need to use our tax dollars to fund things like handouts to the billionaire class, corporate welfare, and a genocide in Palestine. And for MAGA people who are so bothered by using tax money to help out our own people, our own citizens, where are you on these issues? I have not seen a mass movement from MAGA to stop handing over billions to Israel for their death machine. And here's one more bonus article that I'm going to share before ending my rant on this. So here is from the New York Times from a couple of days ago now. White House assesses ways to persuade women to have more children. Baby bonuses and menstrual cycle classes are among the ideas pitched to Trump aides as they consider plans to try boosting the birth rate. So again, all of the things that we've been talking about are coming from an administration that is actively trying to find ways to incentivize women to have more babies. Gee, if you're soliciting suggestions from the public, might I suggest canceling student loan debt? Just a thought, but it might help. So that's it from me on this. If you liked this video, please do consider becoming a paid subscriber to Status Coup News for as little as $5 a month so that we can keep bringing you on-the-ground reporting on things like this that really matter. And you can sign up at statuscoup.com/join. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.